So, in case you missed it, the most hated mom in America threw herself into the public space earlier this week. No, not Meghan Markle, we've already talked about her, and not Ruby Frankie either. If possible, a woman that is hated probably more than both Meghan and Ruby combined. And that is Caylee Anthony. And I wish I was kidding. And what she is actually trying to do with her fame now is both amusing in a very dark way, and it's about as disturbing as we already know Caylee Anthony is. Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you being here. Do me a couple of favors, hit the subscribe button because I am trying to grow this channel, hit the thumbs up button as well, and turn on your notifications so that you never miss out on a conversation like the one we're about to have. So of all of the crazy stuff that we've come to expect just living in the day and age that we currently live in, I didn't think it was possible to be shocked anymore. Yet, I learned this week that there are still things that can make my eyes pop out of my head and my brain explode. And Caylee Anthony creating a TikTok account and trying to give legal advice was that thing. But before we get into that, for those of you who might not know who Caylee Anthony is and why everybody in the world pretty much hates this woman, because believe it or not, there are people that don't know who Caylee Anthony is, and I found out earlier this week that my husband is one of them. Let's take a walk down memory lane all the way back to 2008. So Caylee Anthony was the mother of a little girl named Caylee Anthony. June 16th, 2008 was the last time that anyone saw the little 2-year-old Caylee alive, and it was 31 days before she was reported missing. This was a month-long period where Caylee had already gone on a trip, so she wouldn't have seen her family members anyway. But when her grandparents, who are also Caylee's parents, George and Cindy, would ask to talk to Caylee on the phone, Caylee would either say that Caylee was sleeping, or she couldn't come to the phone, or she was out playing, or she would make up a whole bunch of excuses. It's also important to note that in this 31-day period, Caylee was seen partying, living this kid-free life, and doing things like getting tattoos. Also, the car that she had been driving was a loaner from her parents, but she had abandoned it in a public parking lot when it ran out of gas, and someone had the car towed after seeing that it hadn't moved in a number of days. The towing company then called Caylee's father, George, to come and get the car, and when he did, he and the car lot owner opened the door to the car and were immediately hit with the unmistakable smell of a dead body. When her parents got the car back and the mom started cleaning out the car, and combined with the smell of the human decomposition and then also finding trash and maggots in the car, she was the one who contacted the police with the concern that her granddaughter was missing. Forensic testing found traces of chloroform in the car and a strand of little Caylee's hair. Initially, Caylee had told the police that her daughter had been kidnapped by the nanny that was supposedly watching Caylee for her, the nanny named Zanny, even going so far as to tell police officers what apartment building and number Zanny lived in. But when the police officers got there, it was clear that no one had lived there and it hadn't been occupied in months. She also told officers that during this 31-day period, she had been working at Universal Studios. But after walking the police officers through Universal Studios, through some random offices, she eventually admitted that though she used to work there, she hadn't been employed with them in years. So Caylee was arrested for giving false information to the police, child neglect, and obstruction of a criminal investigation. Then she was released on bond, but after an angry crowd had started to gather around her parents' home where she was staying, her bond was revoked and she was sent back to jail. And then in October of 2008, Caylee was indicted for first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and 4 counts of providing false information to police. And then sadly, in December of 2008, 6 months after Caylee was last seen, little Caylee's remains were found. She had been wrapped in a Winnie the Pooh blanket, stuffed inside of a laundry bag, and her mouth and nose had been covered in duct tape. There has been some debate about where the duct tape actually was on her face. So after 2 years, the trial finally began in 2011. And if you are interested in a more in-depth analysis of how this entire story played out, because there are so many details, I will link a couple of videos that I have watched on this in the comments below. But needless to say, the nation was absolutely shocked when on July 5th, 2011, Caylee Anthony was found not guilty on all counts of murder, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and aggravated child abuse, though they did find her guilty of lying to the police, of which she was sentenced to 1,000 days in jail for. But because she had been incarcerated since 2008, she walked free on July 17th, 2011, less than 2 weeks after sentencing. So that is a very short, condensed version of the story. But again, it was something that absolutely shocked people. The evidence, at least in my opinion and the opinion of most people, was overwhelming that Caylee was responsible for what happened to 2-year-old little Caylee, and everybody in the country was ready for this woman to go to prison. And people were absolutely outraged when the verdict came in. Yet, even though this woman thought she was going to get her life back, she has not been granted that ability, at least not in any way that she probably thought she would. In my opinion, and I believe probably what a lot of people think, she thought she'd be able to walk free and get back to her party lifestyle and live the kid-free life that it seems like she really wanted, with no responsibility and with the freedom to do whatever she wants. But even though the jury didn't have her locked up, the public has held on to this case. And literally, no one wants to hear from this woman at all ever again. But Caylee herself seems to be the one person on the planet who is completely unaware of that fact. She has tried to disprove everything that people have said about her. She's tried to debunk the idea that she was responsible for Caylee's death. She did a documentary a few years ago, yet no one is buying it. And in the eyes of pretty much everyone on planet Earth with 2 functioning brain cells, this woman is guilty. So it was quite the shock for everyone to see Miss Anthony join TikTok to put herself out there as, get this, a legal advocate for the LGBTQ community, for women's rights, and to be a voice for the voiceless. Again, I'm not even kidding. So here's that video.
Today is Saturday, March 1st, 2025. This is my first of probably many recordings on a series that I'm starting. I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011. And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter.
I think it's quite the take to say I've been in the legal field since 2011 when her background is that she was on trial for the murder of her own child. But okay. She then says that this is not about her parents or stuff from the past, but that this is meant to reintroduce herself as a professional in the legal field, and that everything she says from here on out will be in that capacity.
Is to continue to help give a voice to people, to give people tools and resources that they can utilize so they actually know where they can turn to. So with that, please join me on Substack. If you have questions, I will set up an email address where we can correspond directly. Up until this point, that has never happened. And it's only going to be on a limited basis regarding legal issues, legal matters.
So is her advice going to be on how to lie to law enforcement and escape justice? She then goes on to say that the reason she's doing this is because she's had people close to her attacked and targeted, not like her daughter, and that she feels it's our job to stand up for people when they've been treated unfairly, except her daughter, right?
As a proponent for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights, I feel that it's important that I use this platform that was thrust upon me and now look at as a blessing as opposed to the curse that it has been.
A blessing? Really?
With that, these aren't going to be perfect. They're not going to be edited. Most of the time, they're not going to be short. But I am proverbially standing in the light, embracing this piece, still going to keep my privacy intact. So you will get very comfortable with my car. And I will explain in great detail why it's so important for people to protect their privacy. It's not just important to public figures, it's even more important to private individuals. And with the current climate in our country, especially, it's that much more important, which is why I am utilizing the Substack platform. Yes, I am advertising this and publishing this on TikTok, possibly also through other meta platforms, but my intention is to separate from that and showcase even more why Substack is such an important resource for people to utilize moving forward. Anyway, I appreciate your time, and we'll see how this goes.
I'm sure even Substack is like, we don't want this woman. Please stop advertising our platform. Like, they're probably all having meetings about this as we speak. But as she said, we'll see how this goes. We can already see how this is going. You know, there is not much that we can unite on these days, but across the board, across the political spectrum, from Trump supporters to Harris voters, from far right to far left, across religions, races, sexual identities, from feminists to trad wives, from the Hamptons to Compton, we all agree nobody wants to hear from Caylee Anthony. Nobody wants to have her online. Nobody wants her as their advocate. Nobody wants them advertising their business. And nobody wants her help. So let's get into some of the reactions.
Hey, I just want to go on here and say I hope everybody's having a good morning, except you, Caylee Anthony. I hope that the wrath of 10,000 absolutely pissed off fire ants finds its way into your life today. But everybody else have a great day.
Amen.
Caylee Anthony, good morning. How's things going for you so far? Not so well. That doesn't look like it's going well. That doesn't look. You're on an app full of stay-at-home moms. But yeah, just checking in with you, seeing how things are going, seeing how life's been lately since you got away with murder. But yeah, when I saw you back on the app, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start my own duct tape business. I bet this bitch buys me out in the TikTok shop. That would be a smart business plan. Not saying I would do it, but no, seriously, get off the internet.
If he's gonna start that business, I might have to invest because it sounds like it'll take off.
Caylee Anthony, just wanted to give you an update on your platform, your housing, whatever that is. We're almost done. We're at 650 feet down there. You see that right there? That's a conveyor belt. You can take that all the way down to the bottom for your own private entrance. We did go and stock the pantry down there. It has all your favorites: duct tape, heart stickers, Winnie the Pooh blanket, laundry bag, and some chloroform. Have a great day.
So yeah, people have not forgotten what this woman did. And again, I don't think there is one person on planet Earth who legitimately believes that she is innocent. This gal suggested that the timing of Casey's reemergence on social media was calculated.
Smart. You played your cards right. You waited for enough time to go by, nearly 20 years, until we have a new generation who doesn't really know who you are. And that's when you decided to make your comeback, to take advantage of the new generation that have no idea what you've done, to try to gain fame off of it. But us, that was around when it happened, we didn't forget. Just know that we didn't forget.
And I think that may have been at least part of her thought process in coming out of the shadows at this point. But she's forgetting that most of the people who know this story are around the same age as her. And we're raising the people who she's trying to connect with now. So she has no hope of reintroducing herself. But after all of this, Caylee posted this on Substack because she's not happy with how outraged the public has been toward her. And once again, she's a victim. So this says, for everybody speaking out, good, bad, or otherwise, heed your words and make sure you are saying something of substance. Oh, I think we are. Here's the law in Florida about threats, libel, and slander, etc. You don't have to be a Florida resident to be charged. Jurisdiction is where the crime was committed, usually. If it's over the internet and you're saying something hateful, slanderous, libel, threatening, bullying, etc., the recipient party can request the jurisdiction be in the state where they live and not the state where you committed the act. The internet is not a protected place. My next thread, I will be posting the statutes for every one of our 50 states and our territories. Even for those of you saying that these things about me, I am still going to continue to do what I said I was going to do, which is advise you of your rights and the law. It is public record, and if necessary, I will remind you that this is not legal advice, purely public information. You need to educate yourselves before you implicate yourselves. I would say stop the BS, but I think that's asking a little too much. We all have the same freedom of speech, but the First Amendment does not protect you against these things most of the time. So unsolicited advice, proceed with caution. And people are clearly taking her proceed with caution warning seriously, because one of the comments below it was, Caylee Anthony rebranding herself as a legal advocate is like Jeffrey Dahmer opening a steakhouse. So yeah, things are not going well for this woman. And honestly, she needs to just do herself a favor and fade into the sunset and just stay out of the public eye. But perhaps we owe Caylee Anthony a bit of a thank you as well, because I haven't seen this level of unity in America in a long time. So thank you for bringing us together, Caylee. Now go back to your hole. But that is all I have for you in this one. I would love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments below. Do you guys remember when this case played out? Where were you when you heard the verdict? And who do you think Caylee Anthony's primary clientele will be? Again, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. Other than that, keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.